Hey guys, and welcome back to otro episodio with Jasmin Izaguirre, and we are back with another Thirsty Thursday video, which I'm so excited about. Well, I don't know if I would say excited, but this is a video that I've been anticipating for a while. I've been planning it. I knew that I wanted to do it on this Thursday because let me tell you, it is currently 2:09 a.m. So yeah, it's kind of late already, but I had to film this video for you guys because I knew that I wanted it to go up today, well, later today. And like I mentioned, today is March 21st and Saturday is March 23rd. March 23rd is my dad's 3-year anniversary of him passing away. And as you guys can see from the title, I don't even know what I'm gonna call this video yet, but it is about grief. It is about losing. I want to focus this video on losing a parent, just because I lost a parent, but you can take this video and apply it to losing anybody that was special to you, anybody that was close to your heart. As long as you can relate to it or you can apply any of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, then you go ahead and you take it as whatever works for you best. But yeah, so that is the Thirsty Thursday video of today. And I know, you guys, I know I said Thirsty Thursday is going to be where we drink, and it's going to be where we talk about like fun topics and serious topics, and the last 2 topics that I've talked about have been very serious. So I promise you that next week's video is going to be a little bit more, it's still going to be important and serious, but it's not going to be like this deep. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope that you guys learned something from it, and I'm going to try to talk kind of fast so it's not too long, but I'm going to try to hit all the points that I have here that I want to talk about. But it is Thirsty Thursday, so let's get into the drink today. I'm gonna be showing a little clip here. I wasn't going to do an alcoholic beverage this video since I did one last video, but in honor of my wonderful dad, he was a big fan of Coronas, so a Corona it is. I was going to get like the glass ones because I feel like those are like the legit Coronas, but I was not about to buy a 6-pack. So I bought this one, and we are going to be drinking Corona in honor of my dad because I know he's watching. Let's go ahead and pop our beer open. And I know you guys are thinking it's 2 in the morning. What are you doing with your life? But it's for the video. It's for the video. Okay. So I also got my little sal y limon right here, and I have a legit limon. So to start off, let me prepare my little drink real quick while we get started. Just gonna squeeze one of these lemons in here. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about my dad, so you know, so you get what I talk about later on and you kind of understand. So my dad, David, that was his name. So my dad, David, was actually not my biological dad. He was my stepdad. I don't really like to say that word with him because that word was not a word that we ever used. It was not in our vocabulary, like stepdad, stepdaughter. It was never applied. Like, he was my dad, and he was the only, until this day, the only father figure that I knew. I mean, I have my stepdad now, who I consider my stepdad, and I love him to death as well, but David was my dad to me. Like, if I could have made him my biological dad, he would have been my biological dad. But anyways, so like I said, he wasn't my real father. He came into my life when I was 5 years old, so I'm not gonna get like too much into detail about how all that happened, but he came into my life when I was 5 years old. Off the bat, he treated me like his daughter, never questioned, never made me feel less. When I was 7, so that was when I was 5, when I was 7, my mom had my sister, Gigi, who obviously was my dad's real daughter, but even then, he never made me feel like I was a stepchild, like I was somebody else's daughter. He always treated us both the same, and for that I am always so grateful for, like, I'm so grateful that he did that, you know. So when I was 7, so when I was 9, my parents actually separated, and all of my mom's family was here. So we ended up coming here to Michigan, and I feel like this is where aside from the fact that he had already, to me, he had already earned the spot of a father, this is where I realized that this man was my father. And it was when my parents separated. Obviously, we moved here. He lived in Florida. I didn't say that part. So we actually, when my mom and my dad, we left to Florida. We moved to Florida because that's where he lived and his family and everything. So let me drink a little bit of this Corona here because it's too big and I need to finish it. Hold on, hold on. Next video, I'm gonna try to not do an alcoholic beverage, because I don't want you guys to become alcoholics or anything, or to think that I'm an alcoholic. But anyways, for this time, it's okay. Okay, so like I was saying, yeah, he lived over there, we lived over here. So even after that, every summer we would go to Florida with my dad. So every summer for like the 3 months, which was what, June, July, August, we would go to Florida. Again, he had his family over there, so my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents, they were over there, so we would always be with them. And even then, he would always buy mine and my sister's ticket. He would always still consider me his daughter, you know. He would always fly me out there as well. And it made me realize like, man, damn, you know, like, this man is my dad. Like, he does not see me any less. He loves me, he cares about me. He doesn't make me feel like I'm his stepchild. You get it, like, I couldn't believe it. So for that, I was very thankful. Whenever, as hard as this topic is for me, I really want to talk about it, because I like, through my timeline on Facebook and stuff like that, I can name at least 3 people that I know that have either lost their dad as well, or have lost a mom, or have lost somebody. And I just want them to relate and want them to know that they're not alone, that, you know, that I feel them. And I just wanted to really touch on this topic. So when my dad passed away, it was when I was 18. So my senior year of high school of 2016. Just so you guys can get a feel of everything. When I found out my dad passed away, it was like they ripped my heart out of my chest. And for those of you who have experienced this, then I know that you know the feeling. I can recall, like, if I close my eyes and I think about it, I can recall that day exactly how it was, from the moment that I woke up to the moment that I found out to everything after. I remember waking up that morning and I had some text from my aunt, but at the moment she was texting me about some other stuff, but she kept texting me, and I was getting ready for school. I was going to school, so I wasn't texting her back right away, but then I texted her back and I was like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? She's like, oh, I need your mom's number. And I was that was kind of weird to me for different reasons. It was just kind of weird to me that she needed my mom's number. So I was like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? You know, why do you need my mom's number? But okay, here it is. And I don't know why, I don't know if you know, but like, I had this gut feeling. Like, I just had this gut feeling. I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? Like, is something wrong with my dad? Like, what's going on? What's going on? And she wouldn't reply. And at this point, I'm freaking out. I'm in, you know, it's one of those moments where, like, you're in class, I'm in class, and I felt uneasy. Like, I did not want to be in class. I was not concentrating. I was not even paying attention to the teacher. I just had this gut feeling, like, my aunt is not replying. She's texting me since the morning. She's asking for my mom's number. Like, what's going on? Like, there's something fishy here. So then I text my dad. And I text my dad and I ask him. So I text my dad and I ask him, hey dad. And then I was like, hey dad, are you okay? Hey dad, what's going on? And that's what I text him, and he obviously never replied. So, you know, I go about my day. At this point, like I said, I'm a senior, so seniors are allowed to leave during lunch and whatever. So I remember I went to McDonald's that day for lunch, and I come back and I'm sitting in my truck listening to music, eating my McDonald's, when one of my other aunts my mom's sister texts me and she's like, hey, can you come home? And this is when I knew something was wrong. Like, what's going on? Why do I have to come home? But I'm feeling so uneasy that I'm like, yeah, I'll be home in a minute. Let me just tell my teacher that I'm leaving. I go in, I tell him I'm leaving, and I feel this like nerves. Like I just feel it. Like I feel it in my gut. Like what's going on? I'm driving home. My school's not that far from my house, but it's like maybe a 5-minute drive or 5 or 10-minute drive. So I'm driving and I'm praying. Like I'm praying. I know it has to do with my dad. I just know that it has to do with him. So I'm driving and I'm praying to God, and I'm like, God, whatever it is, let my dad be okay. Whatever it is, let my dad be okay. If it's, you know, like what I was thinking, because I was thinking the worst in my head, but deep down, deep down, I thought about him passing away, but I didn't want to let that thought come into my head. Like I didn't want to think of that. So I was like, God, let it be. And obviously I didn't wish this on my dad, but because I knew that something was wrong, I was like, let it just be a car accident. Or because he was a construction worker, well, he actually didn't like technically do the construction. He like had his company or whatever, but I mean, he would go out there sometimes. So I'm like, let the worst case scenario be, hold on. I'm like, let the worst case scenario be that he was in like a bad accident. I'm like, because everything has a solution except death. And like, that's exactly what went through my mind. And I remember after I was praying, I was driving, you know, I was praying, and I called my best friend. I called him and I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling this way. My aunt's calling me. She tells me to go home. I don't know what's going on. And as I'm talking to him, I'm pulling up to my house, and there's like a few cars there. Like they're all my aunt's cars. So I'm like, hey, I'm here. I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of cars outside. I'll call you. I'll tell you what's going on. I walk in, and my aunt, my mom, and my 2 aunts are there. And my mom's crying. Like everybody looks like they just finished crying. And oh my God, I can't even believe I'm talking about this on camera. But everybody looks like they've been crying. And I already know. Like and at this point I already know. So they sit me down, and my mom can't even talk, so my aunt's the one that tells me. And by this point, like I said, I already knew. I was just waiting for somebody to say it, but I didn't want them to say it because it just meant that it was going to be real, right? So let's have another drink. A little baby drink, because it's not that good. I'm just kidding. I don't really like to drink beer a lot, you guys. So I'm doing it for you, Dad, but I know you wouldn't want me to do it anyway, so okay. Anyways, so I'm just waiting for them to tell me, and the minute that they tell me, I felt like my soul left. Like I felt like I ran out of breath. I felt like a knot. I felt this knot that I'm feeling right now. I felt this knot in my neck, not in my neck, in my throat, and I couldn't even breathe. Like I didn't want anybody I didn't want to look at anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just didn't want nothing to do with anybody. Like I just couldn't believe it. And right after, okay, like it processed in my mind for like a split second. I was like, okay, this can't be happening. This is not true. But I know they wouldn't lie to me. I knew it was true. And then automatically the second thing that popped in, sorry that my voice is getting a little cracky. The thing that popped into my mind right after that was my sister. She was 12 at the time. She was 12 at the time. Sorry. She was 12 at the time. Was 18. She was 12. And she was in school. And knowing how it affected me, I just couldn't imagine how it was going to affect her. And I just couldn't, like, I couldn't even think of how we were going to tell her. And then I told my mom that I wanted to tell her. I wanted to tell her because I wanted her to know that I knew the pain that she was going to feel. Like I knew how she felt because that was also my dad, you know, like that was our dad. I feel like if my mom told her, she wasn't going, like she was going to feel like my mom. Like, I mean, she obviously affected my mom, but she just wasn't going to feel like that, you know, that connection. Like, okay, you know exactly what I'm going through, you know exactly what I'm feeling. So I told her. Now, I don't want to get into that. That's a whole nother thing. But so after everything was said, everything, you know, once everything came out, now, if you've never gone through this, if you've never lost a parent, or you've never lost somebody very close to you, then I don't know if you've ever felt this. But when this happened to me, when I lost my dad, I felt empty. I felt so empty. Like, I've lived in Michigan and in Grand Rapids for years, like more than 10 years. And I know every street, I know every corner, I know Grand Rapids. And you know, I had lived in that house that we were for like a year already. I knew my room, I knew everything. But the minute that I found this out, like I said, I felt like I was gone. I felt like I was not even there. I'm so sorry for that noise, but ignore it. I felt like being in my room, I felt like that was not my room. I felt like empty. I felt this void. I felt like I felt like the world was, I felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like I was in my own world. But my room, my bed that I loved, didn't feel like my bed. I remember after a few days, I drove with my best friend somewhere, and driving down the streets, I felt like I was in a whole different state. Like, I didn't know anybody. I felt like I didn't know the streets. Nothing had meaning. Nothing had meaning to me. Like, I would not wish this pain on anybody. And it was such a hard time. I cried that day, obviously. And I remember we had to drive up to Florida. Well, we had to drive down to Florida. It was me, my mom, my sister, and my stepdad, and a few of my aunts and uncles and stuff. We all drove to Florida for my dad's funeral. And I just wanted to get there so bad. Like, I wanted to get there and I wanted to see him. But at the same time, I didn't want to see him, because I felt like that was gonna make it more real. My dad lived in Florida, what, 9 out of the 12. Well, my dad lived in Florida the whole year, right? But we saw him 3 months out of the year. So 9 months I didn't see my dad. So to me, he was always in Florida. He was in Florida. So even though I found out he passed away, it was like, oh, my dad's in Florida. Like, I was in denial. I was in denial. Like, I didn't accept it. I was shocked. So we drove there, and I saw my aunts, my uncles. I saw my family over there. And I remember for my dad's funeral, we didn't want to wear black. Like, if you, obviously you guys didn't know my dad, but my dad was an amazing person. He was such a good human being. He was nice, he was funny, he was the life of the party. And even though he was, you know, not my biological dad, I always feel like I have his personality. I always feel like I have his personality, that I'm so similar to him in so many ways, as well as my mom, because she's the same way. But I feel like we were so similar, because wherever he went, he always made friends. Like, everywhere that he went, he made friends. Like I said, he owned a construction business, so he knew people everywhere. My family, my dad did not have a big family. It was his immediate family. It was his dad, his mom, his brother and sister, and him. And he didn't have a lot of family. So for his funeral, I was like, who's gonna, like, not a lot of people are gonna come, just us. And I remember it wasn't. That funeral home was filled. It was filled with so many people that I couldn't even believe that all these people knew my dad and that they were there for him, you know. And I remember that we didn't wear black to his funeral. We wore white and blue. It was white, gray, and blue because he was a big Cowboys fan. No, because he was from Texas. So we wore those colors because we felt like black was too depressing. Black was not, it didn't represent my dad. Like if my dad would have been there, or obviously we wouldn't have been there, but if my dad would have had an opinion, he would have been like, you guys better not be crying, you guys better not be depressed, you guys better be throwing a party, because that's the kind of person my dad was. And so I remember, yeah, his funeral was huge, and like I remember that he had a mariachi. It was crazy, but somehow, I mean, obviously it was devastating. It's a funeral. Funerals are not fun. Funerals are not, there's nothing fun about a funeral. But the way that we celebrated, like we literally celebrated my dad's life, because they call him like a celebration of life or whatever, but I felt like we literally celebrated him. We had music for him, everybody was dressed in bright colors, and I feel like he would have said that we did a good job. But so the day of the funeral, I felt like I didn't cry like I should have. I did cry when I saw him, and I cried when I did a speech, but my mom was there and she was crying. My sister was, you know, she was devastated, and I felt like I had to keep my composure for them. I felt like they're already crying. I felt like they're already crying and they're already going through it, so I have to be the strong one. And of course, like I said, I cried, but a part of me felt like I shouldn't cry, like I couldn't be crying. And after that, I stayed over there for a week, and then because it was spring break, and then I came back, and I maybe took like two weeks total off of everything, school, work. I was working at the time at a restaurant. I took time off work and I took time off of school, and I felt like I had to go back. I had to go back because I had so much going on in school. It was almost graduation, so we had like our senior project. I was taking this college class in high school, so we had our like end of the semester whatever project that I had to finish, and I had to go back to work, and so much happened. So I just kind of jumped into my routine. Like I just jumped into it right away. I didn't take the proper time to heal. I didn't take the proper time to analyze and, you know, kind of accept the fact that my dad was gone. I just felt like I had to jump back into my routine. I felt like that was the only way that I was going to move on, that I was going to move forward, just jumping back into my daily routine. And I have to say that that did not help for long. Like in the beginning it was fine. My dad passed away in March. I spent so many months after that questioning like why he left, why this had to happen to him being such a good person. I was literally, he passed away maybe a week before spring break. I had just texted him a few days before he passed away, telling him that I wanted to go over there for spring break. And I remember him telling me, what are the days that you're gonna be off so we can book your tickets so you can come over here. And like I said, I questioned myself a lot, and for the first few months I just went back into everything. But his birthday's in October, so March and October is when everything really hit me, because that's his birthday. October 16th is his birthday, so that's when I started getting depressed. I had just started college in September, so I had just started college. I was working a third shift job. It was insane, like the pressure I was under, everything just got to me. I remember his birthday was coming up, and I spent that week crying every day at work. Luckily it was third shift and nobody was really there, but I would hide in like the rooms, in the different rooms that we had at the job, and I would just cry because everything started hitting me. I felt like I was falling into a depression. Nothing had meaning. Like, I felt like, what, just like I said in my last video, like, I felt like, what is the point of getting up? What is the point of doing things? I was falling into a depression. And this time I can actually say that that's what was happening to me. So now, let me tell you about, like, what I went through. Once I hit this depression, I started failing some classes in college. I hated my job. Well, my job was part of the reason on why I was failing my classes, because I was working third shift and I had classes right in the morning. But my state of mind was not helping either. I was devastated. Like, everything was just so much. It was so overwhelming. So much was happening. I felt guilty. I questioned myself. I felt guilty that I didn't call my dad more often. I always told myself, I always said, why didn't I call him more? I should have called when I could. I should have visited more. And I feel like that took the biggest toll on me, was feeling guilty. I felt like I was to blame on the fact that I didn't see him before he passed away. My sister's birthday is February 21st, and she had just gone to visit him that previous month for her birthday. And I remember he asked me if I wanted to go, and I told him that I couldn't because I had to work. And he said, oh, just come, you know. And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I can't because I have to work. And then literally a month after, you know, he passed away. So I felt so guilty because of that. I felt like I could have seen him. I could have literally just seen him, and I didn't. But yeah, I blamed myself. I questioned. I was shocked. I was in denial. Everything was just on me. So now that I've kind of told you of how it happened, how I felt, I want to get into the most important part about this video, which is kind of talking about how I've learned to cope throughout the years. Just a few things that I wanted to talk to you about, just in case you have gone through this. I want to tell you I want to give you some tips of things that I've done to help myself cope. And I also did a little bit of research that I want to share with you guys, just to see if you guys have gone through any of the same things that I have. And, you know, just because, again, we're best friends, and I want you guys to know that you guys are not in this alone. You guys have me, even though I'm not much help, but I would love to be there for you if you ever need to talk about any of these things. Okay, so I actually read this article. It's just called "What is Normal Grieving and What Are the Stages of Grief?" So now there's 5 stages, and the first stage is denial. So denial, being shocked, you feel numb. You know, it's the first time you're learning about a loss, and that's exactly how I felt. I felt empty. I felt numb. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to accept it. I was like, why is this happening to us? Why is this happening to me? Why did this happen to him? He was an incredible person. Why? Even though I didn't want to question God, because I am a strong believer of everything happens for a reason, I had questions. I was like, why, God? Like, why did you have to take him at so young? My dad was 30. He's gonna be 38 this year. 36 or something. My dad was 35 when he passed away. So he was super, super young. And I just questioned all of that. So the first stage is being in denial. And it's normal. It's so normal to feel this way, because losing a parent and losing somebody is something that you don't prepare yourself for normally. And even if you are prepared for it, like let's say it's a sickness or something, even if you are prepared for it, it's not something that anybody ever has planned in their life. Like, oh, in this year I'm gonna lose somebody. No, it's not something that you do that way. It's something that comes unexpectedly, and it's shocking. It's overwhelming. You're in denial. You're in denial. That's the first stage. Now the second stage is anger. Anger towards the world, anger towards yourself, anger towards the person that left you. And I would have to say that is true. I was very angry with myself, because I felt like I could have seen him more. I could have called him more. I could have done more to enjoy the time that I had with him, and I did it, you know. I did it. And when he left, I felt like, when was the last time I even talked to him on the phone? I texted him, but did we have a serious conversation? You know, those are things that you think about. And I was angry with myself because I felt like I could have done more. I could have called him more. Stage number 3 is, now I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but it's bargaining. That's how I said it on the article. It says bargaining, but that's, oh, I'm sorry. Well, that was kind of like what I said. So it's anger. You're angry at people. And then bargaining is like blame. That's when you start blaming yourself. You know, I could have done more. I could have called more. So it kind of ties, those two kind of tie together. You know, you're angry and you blame yourself and you blame the person. Then is stage number 4, which is depression. Again, it's exactly what I went through. I was so depressed. I feel like losing my dad affected me as a person, in good ways and in bad ways. In good ways as in, I kind of realized that there's a lot of more important things in life than little things that I would worry about before. When I lost my dad, it made me realize, like, wow, you know, like, your life could be gone in a blink of an eye, and I'm over here worried about, you know, X, Y, and Z, like things that don't even matter. So it kind of helped me mature in a way. Well, it did. It helped me grow as a person. It helped me mature. I carried my dad's death through these 3 years to a point where sometimes I felt like, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this because my dad passed away. If my dad would have been here, I would have done this. If my dad would have been here, we had plans to do this after I graduated. I was supposed to move with him to Florida after I graduated. But, you know, I felt like I didn't, it's not that I used it as an excuse, but I let it affect me for a long time. And that's something that I allowed myself. I allowed myself to be sad. And again, depression is not a choice most of the time. Sometimes, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to control being depressed. It's hard to tell yourself, I'm going to be happy. It's hard to tell yourself, I will get through this. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to be the best person that I can be. And I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to do what I have to do for my dad. I would tell myself that, but it's harder than it looks. It is so much harder than it looks. But at the same time, I felt like I did have the power. Like I said in my previous video, I'm like, you do have the power. When you start playing the victim, you lose the power of your life. You lose the power of controlling what goes on in your life. And I lost that power because I was so depressed about this for multiple years. I let it kind of linger on me for so many years because I didn't talk about it. I let it bottle up and I exploded eventually, and I was just depressed. I didn't talk about it with many people. I talked about it with one person one time, which she was like a pastora. I don't really know how you say that in English, but if I know, I will like put it right here. But I talked to her once and it was very helpful, but it's something that you have to constantly like take care of until you feel like you're fine. You can't just talk about it once and think that that's going to be okay. I feel like you have to talk about it multiple times until you feel like you're okay with it, like you've accepted it. So that was one of the things that happened to me in my depression until this day. I'm telling you, just recently I realized that I need to get it together. And then stage number 5, which is acceptance. Now, acceptance is the one that takes a little bit longer. Speaking from experience, it's gonna be 3 years and I'm barely learning how to accept. I felt like I told myself from the beginning that I did accept it, because again, I didn't want to question God. I didn't want to question him on why he did the things that, why things went the way that they went. I didn't want to question him. But so I would say that I accepted it. I'm like, I get it. I accept it. I know things happen for a reason. I get it. But I was not healed inside. I had not grieved the proper way. I had not taken the time to accept what was, you know. This video and my last video go hand in hand, which is why I told you guys that I wanted to make a separate video for this. But watch that video as well. I know I've been saying that, but it's because I feel like you guys will see why these things go hand in hand and why I felt that way because of this tragedy in my life. And one of the reasons I've also wanted to learn to accept is because I want to be that role model for my sister. I want her to know that things are going to be okay. We are going to be fine. one thing that you guys need to know is that this feeling that you have when you lose a parent or when you lose somebody close to you or a loved one, when this happens to you, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier, because look at me. Just talking about it, it makes me feel some type of way. It brings everything back. So it doesn't get easier. However, you do learn how to cope with it. You learn how to accept it. I believe in God. I believe in God so much. I don't know what you guys might believe in, whether it's another God or a higher power, whatever it is that you believe in. Pray. Pray to them. Ask for that strength. Ask for that guidance. But you will get through it. I promise to you, you will get through it. I feel like the way that I cope with it the most is whenever these times come around, I like to get together with my sister. I like to take her out to eat. I like to do different things with her. I'm gonna insert some clips here of things that we've done for his birthday. We've gone to eat and we get a little cake, or we've let balloons go. I will put a clip and I will show you guys, but we actually for his anniversary last year, we got white balloons and we wrote things that we were proud of and things that we accomplished, and we let him go, kind of like to my dad, to tell him like what's been going on with us. So now my camera's about to die. All right guys, so now that I've talked about the 5 stages of grief, I hope that you guys were able to relate with some of those things, just so that you guys know that it's normal. You're not in this alone. You're not the only one that has gone through this. So with that being said, don't feel bad about it. If you've gone through those things, if you're still going through those things, it is totally fine. Everybody grieves differently. Everybody heals in their own ways. I know that one of the ways that I healed was with this thing that I'm going to show you right now. But I felt like my dad left in a time where I was barely starting. You know, where I felt like I was going to need him the most. I was barely entering my young adult years, and I was barely gonna go through life and everything, and I feel like him being there would have been very helpful, or him being here even now would have been very helpful. But you know, things happen. I'm learning to accept still what is. I'm learning to accept that my dad is not here anymore, and although it hurts so much and I wish that I could call him every day and talk to him for hours, and I wish that I could see him and hug him so tight, unfortunately I can't do that anymore. But this right here that I have is just a journal that I have here. I picked it up, I think, at Marshall's. I've had it for a while now. So this is like a very important journal to me. Like, I have a lot of different, I've used it for a lot of different things, but one of the main purposes of this journal is I wouldn't even say a few months ago, but maybe like a year ago, I decided that I didn't want my dad to miss anything else, and I still wanted to feel like I could talk to him whenever I wanted to. So now, I don't know about you guys. I don't know how you guys feel about writing. I'm not the biggest writer, honestly. I'm more of a draw, create kind of person. I'm not really like a write things down and write a book and write a story. I'm not that kind of person, really. But I went through I went through a moment where I felt like I couldn't even talk to him. I couldn't talk to God. I couldn't talk to my dad. I couldn't talk to anybody. So I felt like writing letters to him, or just like writing in a, almost like if you were writing in a diary, but instead of writing to Dear Diary, I'm writing to Hey Dad, to kind of let him know everything that's going on in my life. Whenever I feel like I'm going through a hard time and I would like to talk to him, I write it down. Whenever I feel like there's something exciting going on in my life that I wish he knew about, I write it down. Whenever there's something where I feel like I need guidance or I need his advice, obviously he can't reply, but I write it down here in hopes and praying that he's listening to me and that he can guide me in a way. So this is my journal. I highly recommend that you guys, if you're going through this and if you're still learning to cope with it, or even if you've already accepted it but you want to feel close to this special someone, this special person that you've lost, write to them. Get a journal and write to them whenever you feel like you have to, whenever you want to, whenever you want to share anything with them. Write it down. This is going to keep you very close to them still. Of course, and they're not here physically, which is what we would all like, but they're still here. Let's take another little drink real quick. If you guys only knew, it's like almost about to be 4 in the morning and we're here drinking a Corona. Not okay. But yeah, this has helped me so much with coping with this loss, because I feel like I'm still so close to my dad through this journal. I feel like I can write to him so much. Every time I've gone through something or something exciting has happened in my life, I write to him. I write it down. It sounds crazy. I don't know if a lot of you will like this method or will even want to do it, because it sounds kind of crazy, but hopefully you will give it a try, because it really does help. It really does help to feel close to that person. Live for them. Live for whoever you have lost. Live for them. They might not be here anymore, but keep their name alive. Do whatever it is that's going to make you happy, to make that person proud. Let them be looking down on you and seeing that you are still moving forward, that you are pushing through, that you are going to be okay, and they will guide you. I promise you that you might not feel it sometimes, because sometimes I feel like he's nowhere to be found, but he is there. He is there. Your special person is there. They are watching over you. They are hearing everything that you pray about, that you talk about. They are helping you. They are your guardian angel now. Look at it that way. They are your guardian angel that you will always have with you. And celebrate them. Celebrate them as much as you can. Don't ever forget them. You don't ever have to forget them. You just have to learn to accept it and celebrate them whenever their anniversary comes, or a birthday. If you have siblings, if you lost a dad and you have siblings, whenever it's their birthday, whenever it's their anniversary, try to get together. Try to celebrate it either way. If the anniversary is coming up, try to do something in honor of him. Do a good deed in honor of them. Help somebody in need, somebody that needs help, in honor of that person. Because those are little things that are going to make you feel better. They're going to make you feel like, okay, those are little things that are going to help you get through it. Like I said, it doesn't get easier. You just learn how to cope with it better. You learn how to do things that are going to get you through it. Because I can promise you that 10-20 years can pass by and I'm never going to forget my dad. I'm trying to learn new coping mechanisms. I'm trying to learn new ways to get me through it, you know? And like I said, I want to do this. I want to be a better person. I want to be a stronger person for my sister. If other people around you have been affected by losing the same person, talk to them. Talk to them, because they more than likely feel the same way that you feel. Talk to them about it. It's okay. It's gonna be a hard topic. There's probably more than likely going to be tears, but talk to them. Talk to somebody that is going through the same thing that you are going through, especially if it's about the same person, because they will understand you. They will understand what you were going through, what you were feeling. But yeah, you guys, I don't know. I hope this video was helpful in any way. This is not a video to tell you to drink your sadness away. No, don't drink your sadness away. This was, again, just in honor of my dad. We're gonna take another sip for him. This one's for you, Dad, wherever it is that you are. I know you're watching over me, and I love you so dearly, and I miss you every day. And for all of you out there who are still watching till the end, thank you so much. If you or somebody that you know has lost somebody and you think this video will be helpful for them, go ahead and share it with them. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if it helped you in any way. Make sure that if you're a first-time watcher, make sure that you subscribe and you join the family, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified for all of my other Thirsty Thursdays, which I promise, even though there's going to be some serious ones in there, I also want to include some fun ones. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And then also stay tuned for all of my beauty and makeup videos and any other videos that I post. If you ever need to talk, slide into my DMs on any of my social medias. All my links will be down below. Hit me up. Message me if you need a vent, if you need to talk about it. I'm here. I'm a listening ear. If you just want me to hear you out, or I can give you advice if that's what you need. But again, I love you all so much, and I know this video is way too long already. It's 4 in the morning. I have to edit it and get it up by later today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see you on the next one.
Talk it, walk it like I talk it, walk it like I